day 2 in the Simpson, and beautiful morning, a little bit of cloud about. Tracks, not very few people have been through the desert before us this expedition, but as you can see it's still that spectacular red, green and blue in the background as we go up another dune. And then down again, and because the scalloping we have to go very slow so we don't bounce our vehicle to pieces, and it's almost sideways here. I tend to try and bulldoze my way down to flatten the track out for the next person. Dune after dune with this lovely swales in between of gidgee and dune wattle and desert bloodwoods. Each swale in between the dunes tends to be totally different, and this is affected by the water flow from the north, and if the water lays in the area or just flows straight through. So we'll see these swales which are of the type where the water flows through, and later on we'll see salt pans and clay pans which indicate that the water sits there and evaporates. Every swale is different, and this one's fantastic, and it's covered, not covered, but got a large representation of these bunchy top grasses or peas or whatever they are that all the wind blows them into these fantastic broom-like shapes. Then into a totally different swale again, and look at those line of dunes heading off westward ho. Again, a change in the swale vegetation, and as we come up to the next dune we get more of these broom bushes, or one of the peas, I think it is a legume, that are blown into these fabulous witch's broom shapes. Oh gosh, another dune to climb. Yippee! The BMS navigator says we're on track. The QAA line, 104 kilometres west of Birdsville and heading for Popel's Corner. There goes the Simpson. Here we come into one of the scalloped down sides of the western side of the dune, and this is where people have driven with their tyres too tight, and the vehicle gets a bounce up and the wheels spin and dig a scallop for every wheel spin they do. Very poor desert etiquette. The Simpson Desert. All vehicles eastbound. This is a solo vehicle, 104 kilometres west of Birdsville, westbound. Very important that you keep a listen out and broadcast regularly on Channel 10. Been quite a few head-on collisions out here in the past, and we don't want to join the statistic. corrugations have formed in many of the swales where the old salt clay crust underneath wears out. You can just keep up that nice steady speed so you almost roll over the hill with your tyres down really low. The ballooning of the tyres gives you excellent traction in the sand, and the vehicle floats rather than digs into the sand. Nice sized dune coming up. We go over a patch of geocrete, an old salt pan. Dune after dune after dune, 1200 between Birdsville and Mount Dare. Everyone different. We are regularly seeing camel droppings and camel tracks on the track, but as yet no camel. You can see this swale's got what's called a geocrete floor, the old salt pan. It shows up as this white surface instead of the browny red clay. This is a rather special swale in that you can see the white geocrete on either side of it, which indicates the old beach of a salt pan that was here. So we're just coming on to the eastern beach, and we'll cross over through the old calcite deposits, or calcium carbonate and gypsum, salt, whatever, and come up onto the beach on the other side, the western side of the salt lake, over yonder, and you can see it at the base of the dune directly ahead. So if we're here a few thousand years ago, we'd be underwater at the moment. This is the western side of an old salt lake, so we're looking at a deposit of calcium carbonate materials showing where there was an old beach. They call it geocrete. Very reminiscent of stromatolites, which form in hypersaline situations. These are hyper limestone or calcium carbonate situations. So quite a lot of this sand is not only necessarily silica sand, but also calcium carbonate sand. And the colour, of course, is due to the amount of iron and other minerals that are attached to the sand grain. Every dune is different. Every swale is different. Amazing diversity, and the density of the different species of trees and shrubs that occur in each swale indicates the access they have to water, either running down from the north when it's heavy rain periods, or subsoil moisture where they send roots down to get at it. Our VMS navigators got us on track at the 109 kilometres west of Birdsville on the QAA line on the northern Simpson Desert. Using the VMS handheld UHF radio, we keep regular contact with any other vehicles that are on the line to ensure that we don't do a head-on. All vehicles eastbound. This is a westbound vehicle, 112 kilometres west of Birdsville, heading west. This is National Park Site 5, I think. We're at 138.163,758 degrees east on the QAA line, and it's to do with the these bloodwood trees, I think, or gidgee trees that we've got here in amongst this well-eroded old swale floor that's a mixture of geocrete dunes and small sand dunes and the gidgee wattle. Again, this rough exposed geocrete surface, which is an old salt lake bed, and as you can see, the clay and whatever has been washed out between the calcium carbonate, salt, gypsum deposits, and we can see more of it further ahead at the base of the next dune. These tracks have not been touched by graders or bulldozers since they were put through by the oil exploration companies back in 1970s, 60s, and these were shot lines, and if you look carefully in the cliffs on the right hand side, you'll see the occasional hole, and they're part of the bushrat colonies that dig into these outcrops. Now here's a swale that it's got a salt pan in it that's still got water in it in places, so one has to be very careful, because often these will have a very thin crust, and it's quite possible if you stop that the crust will break under you. So it's important that you either get out and walk them if you're the first vehicle there, but otherwise just keep up a reasonable momentum and follow someone else's tracks that has gone through before you. That wasn't too bad. As you can see, we've just crossed the border into the Northern Territory, and this is an interesting area in that it's a whole series of small dunes quite close together, rather than the... no, wrong again. They were quite a lot of small dunes close together, and I was going to say we're getting into the area where Lake Popal will show up soon, and Popal's Corner, which is the corner between the Northern Territory, Queensland and South Australia. So we'll head on to there. I think we're about 30 or 40 k's from Popal's Corner, and this is one of the clay pans that fortunately several vehicles have been across it this year before us, so we're able to go across knowing that we're not going to sink through the crust and get bogged, as you can see a lot of people have done beside us. Take it nice and steady across these, and follow the tracks of someone else. One good thing about the Simpson Desert is it's been very well signed, and as you can see, we're coming up here to a sign for Mount Dare Hotel and fuel, etc. You go left, and that's also left the Popal's Corner, and Birdsville's there back to the right, and you notice the Hay River crossing sign to the north. So we're heading towards Popal's Corner and Mount Dare.